The night was colder than anyone expected. Winter had arrived early, sharp and unkind, with a wind that scraped against the skin like tiny blades. At a lonely bus stop on the edge of the city, the streetlights flickered like tired guardians, fighting the darkness one dim pulse at a time. Ethan pulled his jacket tight around himself, breath hanging in front of him like pale smoke. He had worked a double shift at the small repair shop, fingers numb from changing tires and fixing broken engines. He wasn't supposed to be out this late, but when the boss asked, he couldn't say no, not when the rent was already overdue, and his younger brother needed tuition money he couldn't quite gather. He shuffled slightly, trying to keep warm. That's when he heard a soft, shaky exhale behind him. A woman stood near the bus stop sign, hugging her arms tightly, almost trembling. Not the kind of trembling from fear, but the involuntary shiver of someone who had been standing in the cold too long. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, strands falling out and blowing across her pale cheeks. Her business suit told a story, one he couldn't fully read yet, but he could tell she wasn't used to nights like this. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked gently. She startled a little and looked at him. Her eyes were tired. Not the normal kind of tired, something deeper, like a storm she had been carrying for far too long. I'm fine," she whispered. But the wind contradicted her, making her flinch again. He glanced at her thin blazer. It was useless against this kind of cold. He hesitated only for a second. He needed his jacket. He knew that. But he also knew she needed it more. Without thinking twice, he slipped it off and walked toward her. "Here," he said softly, placing the jacket around her shoulders before she could object. Her eyes widened. "Oh no, you don't have to." "It's all right," Ethan said with a small, warm smile. "I'll survive." "You won't." A tiny laugh escaped her, weak but sincere, as though she had forgotten how. "Thank you." "Really?" He nodded. "The bus is always late here." "About 10 minutes, maybe more." She inhaled deeply, as if trying to anchor herself to the moment. As if the warmth of the jacket wasn't only warming her body but something deeper inside. "You're unusually kind," she murmured. "Most people don't even look at strangers these days." Ethan shrugged. Maybe the world would be better if they did. For a second, she studied him, really looked at him, like she was seeing through the outer layer of exhaustion plastered across his face. He didn't shift under her gaze. He had nothing to hide. "What's your name?" she asked. "Ethan." "I'm Claire." Ethan nodded. "Nice to meet you, Claire." She smiled faintly, then lowered her gaze to the pavement. He could tell she was troubled. There was a heaviness around her, something that made the night feel even colder. "Rough day?" he asked gently. Claire exhaled a shaky breath. "More like, rough year." He didn't push. People opened up only when they wanted to. But Claire surprised herself. "I lost someone," she said quietly. Ethan froze. Losing someone was never simple. The words themselves carried a gravity that demanded respect. "Someone important?" he asked softly. "The most important," she whispered. The wind softened around them, like it was listening. "My father," she said. "He passed 3 months ago." Ethan lowered his head. "I'm sorry." She nodded, eyes glistening. "He founded a company. A big one. I had to take over. I wasn't ready. Everyone expects me to know what to do, but I'm just pretending. Every day. Tonight was the board meeting. They tore me apart. Told me maybe my father made a mistake making me his successor." Her voice cracked on the last word. Ethan felt something sting inside him. He knew the feeling, the weight of expectations, the constant judgment, the fear of disappointing people who believed in him. "That's harsh," he said quietly. "You're still trying. That matters." She blinked slowly, as if absorbing his words. "Do you believe that?" she asked. He nodded. "Trying is harder than succeeding. People forget that." She stared at him, breath catching slightly, as though she had just heard something she desperately needed but never allowed herself to believe. No one said anything like that to me, she whispered. Not even close. Well, he smiled, rubbing his cold hands together, maybe you've been talking to the wrong people. She laughed softly, covering her face with his jacket sleeve. You're freezing, she said suddenly. I've been colder, he joked, though his teeth chattered faintly. She hesitated, then suddenly stepped closer, sharing the jacket slightly, holding one side of it out. Here, she murmured. At least stand closer. We'll share the warmth. Ethan blinked, surprised, but he stepped closer. Their shoulders touched lightly. The contact sent an unexpected warmth through both of them, not from the jacket, but from the strange, fragile connection building in the freezing night. Thank you. Ethan, she whispered. For what? For treating me like a person. Not a title. He smiled. You're welcome. The bus's distant rumble broke the moment. Claire stepped back slightly but kept the jacket wrapped around her. I'll return this, she said. I promise. He shook his head. Keep it. Really? I have others. You shouldn't give things away so easily, she whispered, something soft and aching in her tone. Maybe not. But it felt right. The bus pulled up, brakes hissing. She took a step onto the first stair, then paused and looked back at him. You don't know it, she said softly, but you saved me tonight. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but the bus doors closed, and she was gone. He stood there in the freezing wind, wondering why a stranger's absence suddenly felt too loud. But what he didn't know not yet was that Claire wasn't done with him. And when she came back, she wouldn't come as the shivering woman he helped. She would come as the CEO who owed him far more than a jacket. 3 days passed, but Claire's face kept replaying in Ethan's mind, the way her eyes softened when he offered the jacket, the tremble in her voice when she admitted her fears, the quiet strength beneath her pain. He didn't know why a stranger had carved a place in his memory, but some moments didn't need explanations. They simply stayed. Still, life didn't pause. The repair shop was busier than ever, and Ethan's hands were constantly covered in grease, his shirt collar smudged from wiping sweat and engine dust. He pushed through each day with quiet determination, reminding himself why he worked so hard, his brother's education, his late mother's dream, and the hope of someday building a life that wasn't always on the edge of breaking. On Friday morning, the shop was unusually quiet. Ethan was bent over an old Honda engine when the door chimed. He didn't look up. Be right with you, he called, tightening a bolt. Footsteps approached, light, confident, but hesitant in a way that didn't match the expensive scent that suddenly filled the air. When he finally stood and wiped his hands, he froze. Claire. Except she wasn't the shivering woman at the bus stop anymore. She stood tall in a tailored charcoal suit, hair neatly styled, posture straight, gaze steady, yet her eyes still held the same gentle warmth he remembered. Ethan, she said softly. He blinked. Claire? A smile tugged at one corner of her lips. You didn't think I'd forget to return your jacket, did you? She lifted it from her arm. Clean. Pressed. Restored to a better condition than when he gave it. Ethan laughed under his breath. You didn't have to dry clean it. I barely recognize it. I wanted to, she said. It meant more to me than you think. He took the jacket but couldn't shake the feeling that something important was hidden behind her visit. Something deeper than a simple return. You look different, he said carefully. Claire inhaled, glancing around the small shop. I had a few conversations after that night. Hard ones. Necessary ones. I didn't back down this time. Her voice wavered with pride and disbelief. And the board listened. That's good, Ethan said, smiling softly. You deserve that. She met his eyes with quiet gratitude. You were the first person in months who spoke to me without expecting anything. You gave me kindness when I was falling apart. Her voice softened. I wanted to say thank you, properly. Ethan shrugged lightly. Anyone would have done the same. No, she whispered. Not anyone. The silence hung between them, gentle, warm, thick with unspoken emotions. Claire took a small step forward. Ethan. I also came because I want to offer you something. He lifted an eyebrow, amused. A job? She smiled. Something like that. Before he could respond, the shop owner, Mr. Delvin, burst in from the office. Ma'am, how can we help you? Oil change? Engine noise? Tire pressure? Claire turned politely. Actually, I'm here to speak with Ethan. Mr. Delvin stiffened. Him? Ethan suppressed a groan. Boss. But Claire's gaze sharpened, not angry, but authoritative in a way that reminded Ethan she wasn't just Claire. She was Claire Morgan, CEO of Morgan Tech Industries, one of the biggest companies in the city. Yes, she said calmly. Him. Mr. Delvin stepped back quickly, suddenly respectful. Of course. Take your time. When he disappeared again, Ethan exhaled. He thinks I'm in trouble. Claire chuckled. You're not. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. I meant what I said, I want to offer you something. Ethan raised an eyebrow. What is it? An opportunity, she said softly. A job at my company. He stared at her, stunned. Claire. I'm a mechanic. And a smart one, she countered gently. I watched you for a moment before you noticed me. The way you work, the focus, the patience, it's rare. She paused. My company runs a technical division, automotive prototypes, internal testing. We need someone who understands machines not just with skill, but with heart. Ethan laughed, shaking his head. I don't have a degree. Then we'll get you one, she said simply. He froze. Claire, I can't. You can, she said, voice warm but firm. You just haven't been given a chance. Let me be the one who gives you that. His throat tightened. Why? You don't even know me. I know enough, she whispered. I know you give without expecting anything. I know you treated me like a human when I felt invisible. I know you work harder than anyone I've met. And I know you deserve more than this. She gestured around the dusty shop, not with judgment, but with understanding. Ethan swallowed hard, feeling something shift inside his chest. Hope. Fear. Gratitude. All tangled. And if I say no, he asked quietly. Then I'll still respect you, she whispered. And I'll still be grateful for what you did that night. He looked down at the floor. His heart pounded. This was everything he had dreamed of, but dreams always felt so fragile, so distant, like touching them might make them shatter. Claire stepped closer, voice gentle. Ethan, don't turn away from something just because it scares you. He lifted his eyes. Hers were soft, encouraging, steady. Just think about it, she said. Before he could answer, a loud crash came from outside, two cars colliding on the street. Ethan rushed out with Claire behind him. One driver was shaken, the other panicked. No serious injuries, but the cars were locked together badly. Without hesitation, Ethan went to work calming the drivers, assessing damage, giving instructions, taking control of the chaos with a calm confidence that even surprised Claire. Watching him, she felt something warm bloom inside her. He didn't just fix cars. He fixed moments. He steadied people. He brought order where there was panic. When it was over, Ethan wiped his hands on his shirt, breathing hard. Claire stepped beside him. That, she whispered, is why I want you on my team. He looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time, he saw not a CEO, not a woman from a different world, but someone who believed in him when he didn't even believe in himself. Something inside him softened. Okay, he said quietly. I'll try. Claire's smile was slow, radiant, filled with relief and something tender. Good, she whispered. But she didn't leave. Not yet. She stood beside him for a moment, both of them watching the street, the world moving around them loud, messy, unpredictable. Claire, he said softly. Yes? Are we still strangers? She looked at him, eyes warm, hopeful. No, she whispered. Not anymore. He nodded, smiling faintly. The cold night at the bus stop had brought two lost souls together, one shivering in fear of failing her father's legacy, the other shivering under the weight of life's burdens. And without realizing it, they had warmed each other in ways neither expected. Some kindnesses are small. Some change a night. And some, like a jacket on a freezing evening, change two lives forever.